Hello everybody, and welcome to another edition of Sports Science Hacks, where today we're going to discuss the structure of a results section. Now before I move into this, I recommend, like I said, my methodology videos, get a notepad ready, open up a Word document, and pause the video at the right time when it relates to something that you're trying to plan in your results section. Okay, so when it comes to the results section, I recommend you have a coherent flow throughout the whole section, and that flow begins with your main findings, moving into the secondary findings, and finishing off with the less important stuff. So going back to the main findings, check your hypothesis, go through your introduction. What are the main things that you're talking about there? What are the main things that you want to find out? And really that sort of stuff should come first in your results. You then move into the secondary and your findings. What I recommend you do now is pause the video, go and look at your data, look at your results, ask yourself, well, what is the most important stuff? What should I put first? What can I do to create a coherent order within my results? Okay, so pause the video now, have a think about that, come back to the next section. Okay, and moving on, what I see all too often is people try and discuss their results within the results section. You don't need to do that. I'll give an example of what I mean by this. This first sentence is nice and crisp and clear. This is what happened, I've described the result. But the second example below, in the text in red, people go and expand and talk about stuff they don't need to talk about in the results section. All you have to do is describe what happened. Don't try and explain why it happened. That happens next in your discussion section. Okay, so moving on, you need to use tables and figures in your results section, and also label them properly too. So use an X and Y axis title if you're doing a bar chart or a graph. So for example, you can see here on the Y axis you've got speed, X axis you've got time. Just put a very simple label like that so it's very clear to follow. Also use units. Now units should be used throughout the whole document, not just tables and figures. But for example here you can see speed brackets, meters per second, so that's the unit. And then on the x-axis, time, brackets, s, seconds. So make sure you're doing that. Also, when you're using tables and figures, have a title for them as well. So for example here, you can see this table. Above the table, you've got table 1, and a very clear, concise title for what your table's called. And then moving on, you want to make sure you don't overdo it when it comes to tables and figures. I see very often students, particularly in a dissertation, will have 15, 20, even 25 tables or figures. You don't need that. Just use them for the really important results or results that you're struggling to write. So if they're really, really wordy sentences and paragraphs and you're reading it back thinking, well, the person reading this won't understand this, that's when you need to start using a table or a figure. So you keep the text in there, but you can divert the reader to the table, to the figure, and it's nice and clear. Okay, so that was part 1. I recommend that you go on to part 2, where I'm going to screen share, show your results section, and expand on some of those points that I've made in this video. If you have any questions about the results section, please get in touch with me on Instagram at Sports Science Hacks. Okay, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in part 2.